Dante's Inferno, Canto 32. The Ninth Circle. Traitors. The Frozen Lake of Cocytus. First Division. Cana. Traitors to their kindred. Commission de Pazzi. Second Division. Antenora. Traitors to their country. Dante questions Bocca dei Abati. Buoso de Duer. If I had rhymes both rough and stridulous, as were appropriate to the dismal hole down upon which thrust all the other rocks, I would press out the juice of my conception more fully. But because I have them not without fear I bring myself to speak. For 'tis no enterprise to take in jest, to sketch the bottom of all the universe, nor for a tongue that cries Mama and Babo. But may those ladies help this verse of mine, who helped Amphion in enclosing Thebes, that from the fact the word be not diverse. O rabble ill-begotten above all, or in the place to speak of which is hard, 'twere better ye had here been sheep or goats. When we were down within the darksome well, beneath the giant's feet but lower far, and I was scanning still the lofty wall, I heard it said to me, Look how thou steppest! Take heed thou do not trample with thy feet the heads of the tired miserable brothers. Whereat I turned me round and saw before me and underfoot a lake that from the frost the semblance had of glass, and not of water. So thick a veil ne'er made upon its current in winter time Danube in Austria, nor there beneath the frigid sky the dawn, as there was here, so that if Tabernic had fallen upon it, or Pietrapana, e'en at the edge 'twould not have given a creak. And as to croak, the frog doth place himself with muzzle out of water, when is dreaming of gleaning oftentimes the peasant girl, livid, as far down as where shame appears with the disconsolate shades within the ice, setting their teeth unto the note of storks, each one his countenance held downward bent, from mouth the cold, from eyes the doleful heart, among them witness of itself procures. Around about me somewhat I had looked. I downward turned me, and saw two so close the hair upon their heads together mingled. "Ye who strain your breasts together, tell me," I said, "who are you?" And they bent their necks. And when to me their faces they had lifted, their eyes, which first were only moist within, gushed o'er the eyelids, and the frost congealed the tears between, and locked them up again. Clamp never bound together wood with wood so strongly, whereat they, like two she-goats, butted together, so much wrath overcame them. And one, who had by reason of the old lost both his ears, still with his visage downward, said, Why dost thou so mirror thyself in us? If thou desire to know who these two are, the valley whence Bessenzia descends belonged to them and to their father Albert. They from one body came, and all Cana thou shalt search through, and shalt not find a shade more worthy to be fixed in gelatine. Not he in whom were broken breast and shadow at one and the same blow by author's hand, Focaccia not. Not he who me encumbers so with his head I see no further inward, and bore the name of Sasso Maccheroni. Well knowest thou who he was, if thou art Tuscan. And that thou put me not to further speech, know that I am Commission de Pazzi was, and wait Carlino to exonerate me. Then I beheld 1,000 faces, made purple with cold, whence o'er me comes a shudder, and evermore will come at frozen ponds. And while we were advancing towards the middle, where everything of weight unites together, and I was shivering in the eternal shade, whether 'twere will or destiny or chance I know not, but in walking among the heads I struck my foot hard in the face of one. Weeping he growled, Why dost thou trample me? Unless thou comest to increase the vengeance of Monteperte, why dost thou molest me? And I, My master, now wait here for me, that I through him may issue from a doubt, that thou mayest hurry me as thou shalt wish. The leader stopped, and to that one I said, Who is blaspheming vehemently still? Who art thou that thus reprehendest others? Now who art thou that goest through Antinous smiting, replied he, other people's cheeks, so that if thou wert living, 'twere too much? Living I am, and dear to thee it may be, was my response. If thou demandest fame, that mid the other notes thy name I place. And he to me, for the reverse I long. Take thyself hence, and give me no more trouble, for ill thou knowest to flatter in this hollow. Then by the scalp behind I seized upon him, and said, It must needs be thou name thyself, or not a hair remain upon thee here. Whence he to me, Though thou strip off my hair, I will not tell thee who I am, nor show thee if on my head 1,000 times thou fall. I had his hair in hand already twisted, and more than one shock of it had pulled out, he barking with his eyes held firmly down, when cried another, What doth ail thee, Boca? It's not enough to clatter with thy jaws, but thou must bark. What devil touches thee? Now, said I care not to have thee speak, accursed traitor, for unto thy shame I will report of thee veracious news. Begone, replied he, and tell what thou wilt, but be not silent if thou issue hence of him who had just now his tongue so prompt. He weepeth here the silver of the French, I saw. Thus canst thou phrase it, him of Duera there, where the sinners stand out in the cold. If thou shouldst question be who else was there, thou hast beside thee him of Beccaria, of whom the gorge at Florence slit asunder. Gianna del Sodina, I think, may be yonder with Ganelon, and Tebadello, who oped Faenza when the people slept. Already we had gone away from him, when I beheld two frozen in one hole, so that one head a hood was to the other. And even as breath through hunger is devoured, the uppermost on the other set his teeth, there where the brain is to the nape united. Not in another fashion, Tydeus, gnawed the temples of Menelaus in disdain, than that one did the skull and the other things. O thou who showest by such bestial sign thy hatred against him whom thou art eating, tell me the wherefore, said I, with this compact, that if thou rightfully of him complain, and knowing who ye are, and his transgression, I in the world above repay thee for it. If that wherewith I speak be not dried up. Alright, so we have finished out all the bulges, and we're into the 9th circle. And before we start into the individuals of this circle, we now know that we're in Cocytus, which means river of mourning. It's the 4th and greatest river of hell. And we have within it Cana, named after Cain, who slew his brother. He betrayed his brother. Keep that in mind. But rivers, frozen rivers, things known for life and flowing, when properly ordered they flow. And they freeze up, and when they're frozen up, they lock that which is in their place. And so this is an important thing to notice here. While it had been mentioned or hinted at in Scripture, this is the first time we see in literature, in Christian literature, the notion that what if there were something worse than the fires of hell? Is not to deny the fires of hell at all. The fires of hell are real. They are there. But as mentioned in previous cantos, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Hate is there. Hate is on the way to indifference. So what if the fires of hell, the passions of hell, the hatred, the destruction of hell is on the way to something far worse? What if there's a place you get in hell that the passions, the hatred, the destruction cannot go, that they are rendered immobile? What if there's a place where our pride arrests everything, including ourselves? The most fitting punishment for the greatest of sinners is not to be burnt alive for all of eternity. That could even itself find pleasure at some point. But what if it's to be locked up within oneself, and it is just, you pursued yourself beyond everything else? What if it's to be frozen inward for the rest of eternity? And so you see that here. The greatest depths of hell are not fire, which is hot and literally lights everything around it so that you can see everything. Everything is illuminated. There's a truth, there's a beauty, there's a goodness to that, the ability to see things. So what if there was a place that did not have the fires of hell, which gives some sensation? What if there were a place that, because there are no fires, you cannot see? Because there are no fires, there is no warmth. Because there are no fires, nothing is properly cooked, nothing is properly tempered, there is nothing to be tasted but coldness for all of eternity, lack of the senses for all of eternity. And that's what Dante has imagined here. It's beautiful. And so, like I said, it arrests you. It's a frozen river. It arrests you. And you're arrested in your own pride and your own rigidity. And so what do we see as the first people of this final circle? Traitors. All of these men that we see inside of this circle, I won't go into all of them, but Frenchmen who have betrayed their fellow countrymen during wars and battles in the cold, other countrymen, Italians betraying their fellow countrymen, their fellow soldiers, countrymen which has betrayed countrymen within their own cities. And so it's betrayal. And what is betrayal but seeking yourself before someone else? And so betrayal sometimes can have company. So if the whole problem is that you sought yourself for your lifetime, you are frozen inside of your own pride. But at the same time, if you are down there because you sought yourself, what just punishment but to be bound to another for all of eternity, which is why you see so many couples down here.